From fellow astronauts to world leaders, today the world is mourning one of its great explorers. Neil Armstrong put the first human footprint on the surface of the moon in 1959.
1959? Not quite as long ago as that, Richard. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin's historic moonwalk was, of course, in July 1969. Welcome to Media Watch, I'm Jonathan Holmes. And it was Neil Armstrong who took most of the pictures, which is why this isn't, as Melbourne's Herald Sun claimed,
an image of Neil Armstrong taking his first steps on the face of the moon.
It's a picture of Buzz Aldrin taken by Armstrong. The Herald Sun had two more pictures of Aldrin that it told us were of Armstrong. And ABC Online made the same mistake.
Neil Armstrong takes his first steps on the moon.
In fact, very few pictures exist of Neil Armstrong on the moon. There's this picture of his back, taken by Buzz Aldrin, and this picture of his shadow, taken by Armstrong himself. This photograph was taken back on Earth, but it isn't, as the Sydney Morning Herald told us,
Neil Armstrong at a simulated test in preparation for spaceflight.
According to NASA, it's
astronaut David R. Scott.
43 years ago, they could put a man on the moon. In 2012, we can't even get the pictures right. By midweek, the commercial TV networks had converged on the site of another great American story. And I don't mean Tampa for the Republican convention, but New Orleans, where reporters could show us just how thoroughly Hurricane Isaac could mess up their hairstyles. Mind you, Seven's Angela Cox wasn't really trying very hard.
Yeah, good morning, Mel. It is easing slightly, but it's still very wet. There's lots of rain, and it's been pretty consistently raining for hours all through the night, and we're still getting strong wind gusts.
Wind gusts? What wind gusts? Angela, you don't seem to get it. If you want us to see wind gusts, it's no good taking shelter like that. You've got to get out there. Over on 10, Emma Dallimore got closer to the mark. Her best effort was on the late news last Wednesday night.
As you can imagine, I'm struggling to hear you in these wind gusts. The people of New Orleans have woken up this morning to just a relentless Hurricane Isaac. This wind and this rain has been non-stop all night.
But the Australian winner by a mile of the Stand Up in the Wind contest was Nine's Denham Hitchcock.
This is normally a lake, but the water here is expected to get 2 metres higher, which means everything here will soon be underwater. Now, a wind like this through a city is one thing, but through the suburbs, it would tear a house to pieces. And the problem is, they don't know how long this will go for. The breadth of it, the diameter is 200 kilometres across.
A great effort. But Denham, you've still got a way to go to reach the high standards set by the Americans, brought to us courtesy of Seven's Sunrise.
Cue the rain, cue the wind. Woo!
And now, back to Australia and the important subject of shoes. Let's take you back to May 2011, when an online shoe seller called Style Tread put out a media release.
Nine Entertainment Company have made a small investment in Style Tread Proprietary Limited and are now one of our shareholders.
Well, not that small, actually. Nine bought a 20% stake in Style Tread. The release went on,
We are thrilled to be able to work with Nine Entertainment to assist us in letting Australia know how convenient it is to order shoes online.
Well, Nine Entertainment has certainly helped with that.
And I actually stumbled across a website called Style Tread, which is actually now my one-stop shop for shoe shopping.
Now, Style Tread is partly owned by Nine Entertainment, so they've got huge marketing clout.
They have indeed. In August last year, 4 minutes of pure promotion on a current affair to an audience of around 1 million. And it worked a treat. Next day, the website Power Retail reported,
Fast-growing online footwear retailer Style Tread, partially owned by Nine Entertainment, experienced a service outage last night after huge volumes of traffic followed a report on a current affair.
And 4 months later, ACA gave Style Tread's pre-Christmas sale another 4-minute plug.
140 brands, 60,000 pairs of shoes. StyleTread has a well-heeled approach to making sure you're putting your best foot forward.
Where do they find writers like that? The Commercial Television Industry Code of Practice says that
if a licensee enters into a commercial arrangement in relation to a factual program, and the third party's products or services are endorsed or featured in the program, the licensee must disclose the existence of that commercial arrangement.
not a worry in the world.
StyleTread is part-owned by the Nine Entertainment Company.
There you go, total disclosure. Well, maybe not total. It doesn't reveal that ACA has become part of a whole new commercial strategy by Nine.
Nine Ventures
Is
Nine Entertainment Company's new consumer investment group. We work with relatively new, fast-growing consumer brands to give them access to our huge audience of millions of Australians. Managing Director David Coleman heads Nine Ventures.
And ASIC records show that in April last year, a new director was appointed to the board of StyleTread.
David Coleman.
The initial investment by Nine Ventures was worth $4 million. We understand it's increased substantially since then. And A Current Affair is not the only Nine vehicle for pushing StyleTread. And some haven't been as scrupulous about declarations. For example, in May this year, the Today programme's Georgie Gardner had a nice chat with Money Magazine's Effie Zahos about online fashion sites.
And finally, another Aussie site, good to promote Australian sites, StyleTread. What do you think about this one?
Looking for a pair of shoes? This is your site.
Well, no, it's not your site, it's actually Nine's, but nobody told us that. Money Magazine, by the way, is also owned by Nine Entertainment Company. And in July, Sonia Kruger and David Campbell on Mornings were asking,
what are the best shopping sites? Paula Joy is here with her top 5. Welcome, Paula.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Paula's the editor of lifestyled.com.au, and among her top 5, there was just one shoe retailer. You'll never guess which one.
StyleTread.
Yes, StyleTread. I mean, this is
just... for guys as well.
Yes, it's for boys, it's for kids. You'd love them, Sonia.
Paula Joy assured us that although her website has featured a sponsored post by StyleTread,
there was no commercial arrangement with StyleTread in regard to that morning's segment. StyleTread was selected because they provide a good service.
No doubt. But surely Sonia or David should have told us that the site is part-owned by Nine. Maybe they didn't even know. And last week, ACA was at it again.
This is the warehouse of Australia's newest fashion website.
Admittedly, StyleTread wasn't the first online shop Laura Tunstall told us about. It was the second one.
Online shoe store StyleTread, of which the Nine Entertainment Co. is a shareholder, has also jumped on the speedy service bandwagon.
We've scoured the regulations. As far as we can see, there's absolutely nothing to stop Nine Entertainment doing what it's done. It can invest in as many retailers as it likes, travel, insurance, you name it, and plug them for all they're worth in its programs, as long as it slips in that little declaration. It's perfectly legal, it just doesn't seem right to me. Nine hasn't responded to our questions. The fact is, everyone in the media business is trying to find new ways to make money, and they're cutting costs as hard as they can. None harder than Fairfax Media. Last year on this programme, Fairfax CEO Greg Highwood told me that though costs still needed to come down, the worst was over. Can you tell your troops, and much more important to this programme, your readers, that whatever cuts are down the line, it won't continue to be cuts to the journalism?
What I'll be saying is that we'll be investing in creative journalism, the journalism that people read. We need to get our journalism better and better, more interesting, more focused on our market, more focused on our readers.
But Fairfax Media's revenues and share price have continued to plunge. In June, Highwood announced that 1,900 jobs would have to go from Fairfax, almost a fifth of its workforce, including 380 editorial jobs. And last week, a swathe of their most senior and experienced reporters and editors left the Sydney Morning Herald, The Age, the Canberra Times, and the Financial Review. They've all opted to take a generous voluntary redundancy package. In Melbourne, The Age has farewelled, to name just a few, political columnist Sean Carney, writers Joe Chandler, Julie Zago and Gary Tippett, veteran Canberra Bureau reporter Misha Schubert, defence specialist Tom Hyland, former Washington correspondent Simon Mann, and some 50 others, including many of The Age's most senior editors and subs. From the Sydney Morning Herald, former Media Watch host David Marr and social affairs columnist Adele Horan have already left. Last week they were joined by, again, to name just a few, crime reporter Malcolm Brown, urban affairs editor Matthew Moore, football writer Michael Cockrell, foreign affairs specialist Cynthia Banham, business columnist Ian Verender, veteran television reviewer Doug Anderson, and some 65 others. They will be missed by their colleagues and their readers. One of the Herald's elder statesmen, Matthew Moore, told ABC News Radio on Friday,
"For the community, I think it's, and for a lot of journalists too, like me, it's a really sad moment because it's a very important institution in this city, and journalism is struggling because the revenue model has broken. But not just at Fairfax, at News Limited too, where they're shedding people as well."
Indeed they are, if more quietly. Some 40 editorial staff were given a send-off by the Herald Sun in Melbourne last week. We don't have figures for other News Limited papers, though we know that about 20 have taken voluntary redundancy from the Australian. Several more have been made compulsorily redundant. Among them, the paper's only specialist science writer. The Oz, it seems, has no more need for the services of the widely respected Lee Dayton. Well, the Australian has had an idiosyncratic view of science for a while now. For example, Ms. Dayton's knowledge of climate science is unrivalled at the paper, but I've seen few stories with her byline on that topic in recent times. But back to Fairfax. Editorial director Gary Linnell had this to say last Friday.
The very best of Fairfax, the investigative journalism, the long-form feature writing, the analysis and commentary, and our ability to break news and set the national agenda remains undiminished.
Well, not damaged beyond repair, we can hope, but hardly undiminished. 4 years ago, Media Watch aired a special on the future for newspapers and quality journalism in the digital age. One of the participants was the then editor-in-chief of Online at Fairfax Media, Mike Van Niekerk. We had this exchange. The concern, I guess, would be, though, if your web pages are the look of the future, if you like, the developing medium, and the newspaper is the one that's on the way down. If that's the case, does that mean that quality journalism is on the way down? Does that mean that funding the Canberra bureaus and the foreign bureaus and doing the investigative journalism is on the way down?
You know, if that would be the case, that would be the time that I would get out of this business, because that would take all the fun out of it for me.
That was then, and this is now. One of the senior editors to take a redundancy package from The Age last week was Mike Van Niekerk. Until next week, good night.